Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
by my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who have been deported out of the country. I understand you're saying it's their choice.
But it's hard to imagine
a small child having a choice. But have you gone after legal immigrants? Again, your standard in your opening statement was the most dangerous illegal immigrants. Does that include PhD students and master's students at colleges across the country, unarmed? Are they the most dangerous illegal when they have status and no weapons?
I don't decide who gets status through a student program. This Department of State decides that, and we enforce it.
Oh, come on.
That's what our Department of Homeland Security does.
I just would offer that, again, I have no qualms with going after folks who are here illegally. That is not my concern. That was part of my job, was to prevent people from coming here illegally in a former life. My concern is you're sending a chill down the spine of America by going after people who either have legal status or American citizens. And when you've taken the mandate to close off the border, beyond going after, as you say, the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants. I'm a CIA officer. I work my entire life to protect the homeland. If someone's here illegally, they need to not be here. They've committed a crime by being here. They need to go back to wherever they're from. But my concern is that either through sloppiness or intent, you have gone far beyond going after the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants and gone into legal immigrants who were given the ability to be here, and even American citizens. And when I think about that, there are lots of people in this country, including me, who have families who fled this kind of environment where they have no rights, where they have no due process, where they don't have habeas corpus. So while I'll be the first to say, coming from a state that was won by Trump, that there is a mandate to do something about the border, I think it is absolute dangerous overreach to go beyond that and start picking up American citizens and people who have the legal right to be here, lawful immigrants who have done everything right. So first and foremost, do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens.
Detained?
Or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process, and if we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported any?
We have to go through the vetting process.
My colleagues ask you about habeas corpus, and you say, literally, we can review the tape, that you believe it's a right the president has. Mm-hmm. You sat here in front of all of us and swore an oath to the Constitution, and that is not at all what habeas corpus is. It is a right that we all get, that American citizens get, that people who are in the United States legally have. So my concern is it's complete overreach. I don't think American citizens, even those who voted for Trump, believe that you should be able to just grab someone off the street, sloppy, who has the legal right to be here, and certainly an American citizen. And I just am concerned that while you say you're going after the most dangerous folks, what you're actually doing is going after folks for political reasons, right? A PhD student that's unarmed
absolutely
is not at the top of the list.
And we're not deporting U.S. citizens, and we're not deporting people who have legal status here.
10 American citizens
have been deported. If the children have gone with their parents, it's because their parents wanted them with them. So let me ask you another question about cybersecurity. You've cut $500 million from the budget. What specific programs are you cutting? Because there are programs that really aid states and locals that we depend on for cybersecurity. And we know that right now, while we may have good security in the federal government, if you are a local state official, you're depending on the federal government. So have you cut the ISAC program, the program to states and locals on cybersecurity? The president's recommended budget has a reduction in $491 million.
Does it cut that program? I've heard the talking point.
And what it's doing is putting CISA back on mission.
And it's ensuring that cybersecurity is going to be strengthened. You cannot say it's the most cybersecure administration if you're cutting the program to my state and to your state. And if you look on record, that's what you've cut. I yield back.
Senator Elissa Slotkin wasn't arguing against border security. In fact, she went out of her way to make that clear. As a former CIA officer and a senator from Michigan, a northern border state, she acknowledged that Americans expect action at the border. That's important context. This wasn't a partisan dismissal of enforcement. It was a warning about overreach. Her core concern was not about deporting people who are in the country unlawfully. She explicitly said that if someone is here illegally, they should not remain. The deeper issue she raised is whether enforcement has expanded beyond targeting undocumented immigrants to sweeping up lawful immigrants and even U.S. citizens. That distinction matters. In constitutional law, there is a concept called habeas corpus. It is not a presidential authority. It is a constitutional protection. It ensures that the government cannot detain someone indefinitely without allowing them to challenge that detention in court. It is a safeguard against arbitrary imprisonment. When Slotkin raised concerns about misunderstandings of habeas corpus, she wasn't nitpicking. She was signaling something serious. Confusion about this principle risks eroding one of the oldest protections in Anglo-American law. Slotkin also expanded the conversation beyond deportations. She pivoted to cybersecurity funding cuts, nearly $500 million. Why? Because border security and national security are broader than immigration enforcement alone. Local governments rely on federal partnerships to defend against cyber attacks. If funding for those programs is reduced, states like Michigan become more vulnerable. Slotkin's line of questioning was less about rhetoric and more about demanding clarity.